Ciao and welcome to Tortellino time. Today I am not cooking a carbonara, let's be clear. I'll make that very clear from the word go. I'm doing something which is very similar to a carbonara. We had a trial run last week, it was delicious.
It was.
But it isn't a carbonara. And I'm saying it because lots of people are very attached to traditions and cultures and very purist. So before you get upset and you ever go at me, I'm not making a carbonara, but it is similar. And I'll start with some bacon. This is smoked bacon, and I'll give you the quantities as always in the description. There will be a PDF as well, which you can download and print. No adverts, no fuss, very straightforward. And as I'm not making a carbonara, I can use bacon, but also you can use pancetta, you can use the cheek, which is called guanciale in Italian, which is what you should use in a carbonara. Guanciale is the cheek of the pig and is cured, and it's delicious. It's fattier than bacon, but I'm making a carbonara. My pan is cold, stone cold, and I'll move my bacon in it, just like if you're doing a carbonara. And I'll turn it on quite a high temperature, not the maximum, medium high. And I'm not adding any oil, as the bacon is quite fatty. If you look, there is a bit of fat there, and it will release its natural fat, and there's plenty there without adding any oil. In the meantime, I'll move on and do some of the other ingredients. The secret ingredient for this recipe today is asparagus. And here I've got a couple of bunches, and I'm going to remove the very bottom of it first, because that is going to be very tough, so that can go in the bin. And this is going to be the only waste I will have from my asparagus.
That's good, because it's not the cheapest of vegetables.
No, it isn't.
Although you will be pleased to know, everybody, that I've got just two stems of asparagus in my garden, but it wasn't enough for tonight's tea, so we had to have
some. Now, to avoid wasting any more, I will be peeling the bottom part with a potato peeler, and that is quite tough, so that can come off, but I'm not going to be doing it on the top, just like this. Just go at the bottom, the last couple of inches, potato peeler, and just take it off. Very, very easy. I'm absolutely amazed when I watch some of the cooking videos on YouTube how much asparagus people actually waste just because they can do this. And it's so simple really, and it is such a delicious vegetable, it's a shame to waste it. And as Julie said, it's not very cheap.
And actually, I didn't have any tough bits or anything at all when we tried this the other day, so it really works, doesn't it?
And here is my remaining waste, and I'll put it in this bin, and this is for Julie. She will feed her worms with it. But let's take a quick look at the bacon to see how it's going, and it smells wonderful. Just a couple more minutes and this will be ready. So back to my asparagus. So what I'll do next is to just go at the bottom. I'll line them all up, and I'll chop a few little pieces about a centimeter in length. This is the tougher part of the asparagus. It will be cooked. That is enough, like so. And then as I get tender, I'll go at the very top here, and I will just chop the top like so, and I'll leave this on one side. And this ones here, I will just break them in half, like this. So I'll go three types. Tougher, not so tough, very, very, very tender. My bacon is done and it's lovely and crispy, so I'll remove it from the pan, and I'll put it in here inside a little bowl for the time being. And I'll now go ahead and I'll move the small pieces inside my pan, like this. Over here I've got my pasta water, which is already boiling, and I'm going to transfer all of the rest of my asparagus inside it. The tender bits and the less tender bits. Here I've got some of the lovely fat from my bacon, but to help things going a bit, I'm going to move some of my water inside it, like so, and that will help my asparagus cooking faster. I'm now peeling a little red onion, or you can use a white onion. I'm choosing a red onion today because that is what I've got here in my little kitchen, but I could have used a white onion. I'll go ahead and slice this in little pieces, and maybe I'll go this way as well, so that I make it a little bit smaller. And I'll pick it up and I will add it to my asparagus here.
Vince's new spoon.
Yes, Julie picked on me because I was using a metal spatula earlier, so I
Yes,
got one of my one of
in a
my-
non-stick frying pan.
So this is my new rubber spoon. I think I bought a couple of weeks ago. So there you go. It matches the rest of my stuff. Look, I've got a spatula and also I've got another spatula, I suppose. So they all marry. Actually, I've got something else. I've got this one as well. Look, to match. And if I just show you, because I'm a little bit sad. Look, I think I got the full set now.
Full set, look. Yeah. They're so lovely, but they wouldn't colour coordinate with my kitchen, so they're not allowed in there. But they look super out here.
So after a few minutes, I'm going to now fish my tender and less tender asparagus and remove it from the water. And you will have noticed that the water has turned green, which is great, as I will be using this water to cook my pasta in a minute. I think that's pretty much the lot, all gone. And I'm now removing the middle part of my asparagus, which I cooked in water, and adding it to my onions and the rest of the asparagus. And I'm keeping the asparagus tips for the end, as they will be going on top of my pasta once it's cooked. They are the most delicious part of the asparagus, and they're very tender, but also you need them al dente.
So how long were they cooking for? Just a few minutes for you, wasn't it?
Yeah, about 3 minutes, 3-4 minutes, enough for them to just be ready, and the rest can go in now. And to ensure that everything cooks properly, I'm going to add a little bit more of my asparagus water in here. I'll turn the temperature up, and I'll give this a good couple of minutes so that the onion softens up and everything amalgamates together. Julie and I are very excited because this is the first bunch of parsley that we have picked fresh from our garden. So you can tell spring is here.
Well, this is actually last year's plants that overwintered and died, which is amazing.
It's good.
Because we have had some frost and we haven't had really any snow or anything happen, I suppose. It's been a bit of a mild winter.
So I'll just give it a rough chop and I'll get it ready for later. And also while I wait, I'm going to be separating the white from the yolk from one egg and keeping this at room temperature so that it's considerably easier for me to work it. And there you go, here's the yolk and here's the white. I will not be using the white, just the yolk today. Very typical of carbonara, of course, but I'm not making a carbonara. Have I said that? I think I have.
Just a few dozen pounds.
And time to put the pasta on. My water is boiling and I'm going to add only a tiny little amount of salt. Be careful because the bacon is quite salty, and also I will be adding some pecorino cheese in a little while, so just a tiny little amount.
Sorry everybody, I just managed to kick the tripod, but don't worry. I'm still on my feet, don't worry.
And the pasta goes in, and by the way, a little apology because I've just realized that the mic connected to me was switched off, but the mic on camera number 2 should be picking up the sound, so I will try and fix it during the editing process, but the video should be having a good sound from now on.
A few blue words were used from him.
Well, it happens at times, but the main
I
thing
said,
is that,
oh no, does this mean we'll have to have this meal again? Such a tragedy because it was delicious.
Well, just as well the sound was off when those blue words came out.
Absolutely.
So the pasta will cook for about 8 or 9 minutes. So in the meantime, I'm going to be showing you what I'll do with my mixture of asparagus. I'll turn this off, and look, all of the water has pretty much gone for the time being, which is fine. And I've got a little jug, and I'm going to be moving everything inside it.
And some of it beside it.
So while the pasta is cooking, it's releasing lots of its starches, so I'm going to now pinch a good couple of big tablespoons, maybe 3 actually, there. Blender, and I will blend away until I get a lovely creamy sauce. And that is perfect. If I just get a spoon and show you, everything has been blended. And I'll go ahead and pour this back in my saucepan here.
I do love these sauces because they're creamy without the cream, which is so healthy but really delicious.
Yep, that is the whole point. Try and be healthy.
This was really lovely, everybody. I'm warning you now, it's delicious.
Actually, when I made it last week, I used less asparagus. So today I doubled the amount because I didn't think the sauce was rich and green enough. So I'm quite looking forward to see if it's made a difference. So let's have a little taste of the pasta. Make sure that you do not overcook it, otherwise it will become glue. It's about 3 minutes from being al dente. I think I'm happy that it can come off. And I'm going to dish it out, and water included. I'll just transfer it with my sauce here, and I'll turn this one back on now in the meantime. Do not worry, I'm going to be adding more water in a little while, so the more water the better you can get across. I'll turn this off, and as I mentioned, I will pinch a little bit of this lovely starchy and asparagusy water, and I'll turn the temperature up, and I'll continue cooking my pasta in here now. And as the pasta is not totally cooked, it will continue absorbing some of the liquid. In this particular case, it's the liquid obviously from the asparagus I've just blended, and of course some of the water. Now some people are very clever at doing this stuff. I never managed to do it properly, and Julie is always, oh look, it's working. I think I'm getting the hang of it.
Yeah, don't spill any of that sauce though, that was lovely.
And as you continue cooking it, make sure that you top it up with water so that it doesn't dry up, because I did take it off 3 minutes, so you will need a little bit more water. Very key ingredients of carbonara is pepper, black pepper. So I haven't had any yet, so I'm going to add it now, but I will also add some at the end. By the way, Julie, do you know what the word carbonara means and where it comes from?
And the answer to that is no. I'm trying to think. Carbonare.
Carbonara.
What does carbonare mean?
Okay, the story is that this is the sort of pasta that coalmen used to have when they used to go in the mines. Carbone means coal, so
yeah.
carbonaro is the coalman, and this is a typical very steady meal which people would have used at the time. And the reason why
it would be if it was a carbonara, but it's not a carbonara.
Well, it is, that's true. That's true. It isn't a carbonara. I am digressing. If it was, yes, but the basis of the carbonara, of course. And the black pepper, which is very typical of the carbonara, represents the dust from the coal. That's something that you might not know. Anyway, I'm going to turn this off now, as it is nearly there. And before I continue, I will be adding a good handful of pecorino, or you can use parmesan if you like. Of course, not allowed to use parmesan if you're making a carbonara, apparently, but you use whatever you like. And I'll mix it in, followed by a little bit of my parsley, and I'll leave a little for later. And I'll do the same with the majority of my bacon. And time to add the egg. And I'll mix it once again.
And obviously that then cooks the yolk, doesn't it? Because the
does.
pasta is so hot it cooks anyway.
Does, yes. And let's try it again.
Oh, okay, let me get back.
I'm getting better at this. Especially spilling it. And that's pretty much done. Look, we have got a beautiful creamy sauce without using any cream, and it looks absolutely delicious, and it's a lot greener than it was last week.
Yeah.
So all we've got to do now is to dish a portion and see what it tastes like. So here is my black plate, just to go along with my black pepper story, and I'm just gonna be moving some of my pasta in it, followed by some of this lovely sauce. So I just scoop some with my spoon, and I'll get some of the bacon. Wonderful. And to finish off, don't forget a little parsley on the top, like so, and those lovely little tips which we removed, they can go on the top. They will add different flavour now that everything is cooked. And I did say earlier, a little bit more black pepper. This will make a big difference in any of this style of dish. When you're mixing egg, and regardless if you're cooking a carbonara or a papalina or a carbonara-like. Add a lot of pepper because it's a distinctive flavor from this dish. And I nearly forgot, I got some of the bacon which I left also, so I'm going to add on top. And as you might have already guessed, Julia's already had some. What is it like,
Mine
Julie?
is still in the saucepan, may I say, and it was delicious.
I was taking the pictures for the thumbnail, you know, the little icon that you click on when you see my videos, and she was just helping herself.
Well, look out, another helicopter.
It's absolutely wonderful. It is not a carbonara, it's similar to a carbonara, but it's just as delicious. Try and make it and let me know what you think. I absolutely love it. We had it last week, we're having it this week. And tell you what, we might even have it next week. I'll make it with rice. Ciao ciao, arrivederci, thank you for watching and see you later. Bye.